viewers. In this video that I've got for you here today, where I'm looking at doing a bit of a trial fitting of the Duratec engine with the fairly large Mazda gearbox that's sitting behind it. Okay, so yeah, as I say, I look at all those comments and I do appreciate the comments, particularly the guys that say, hey, this is what I did on my car, and that's good, so I appreciate them, keep them coming. And so we'll get into this video now. I've got those storage boxes mounted there. Not certain whether that's going to be the best spot for them, but that's where they can go for now. So like I do a job, I decide to do something and it leads to several more jobs. So up the top of the stairs here, I'm going to go up there. So I'm up the stairs now, and what I've spent quite a bit of time this morning making this panel to fit nice and snugly into that hole there. Okay, so that's, and so what there was, I did have a wall that was running right across about where that line is there in the middle here. So I've ripped that wall out and I had a railing all the way around that hole in the floor. So now it's just opened up. It's opened up this whole place now to be used. So you can see there's the wheels I've got for the car there. But I don't think any of those boxes are actually open. Oh yes, that one is. No, you can't really see that. They're wrapped up, so I won't worry. But that's what they are, a set of performance super lights. There's the back seats for the car. There's a second nose cone that I've got that's had the bottom section cut off and had the guts cut right out of the centre of it, unfortunately. But I may use that somewhere along the line. So anyway, yeah, as I say, each job I do sort of leads me to finding something else that I need to do. Now I've got to have a good clean up here. Okay, I had the engine lowered right down into position just a minute ago, and what I noticed is it looked to me like the engine mounts were pretty much right in line with the original location where the original Crossmember has the engine mounts attached to it, and you can see that on that one there, and you can also see over on this side they're pretty much lining up with that. So that's no problem. I actually did find some good photos of engine mounts that people had made up the weld to chassis engine mounts during the week, and I'll just put a couple of photos of those up now. So this one is the Motorsport guy that I mentioned to you that I found a video. As you can see there, those mounts are just slightly forward of where the originals sit. So there's the driver side mount, and now we see the passenger side mount there. And then this is another vehicle that I found a photo of, and you can see the weld to chassis mount there. But I think with the way this has been done, it's been designed to mount to brackets that are going to go onto well, I suppose I could still do a chassis mount by either way. I'm going to have to cut those raised sections off that cross member there. So anyway, that's just something for me to now look at how I'm going to design this. You might notice like that engine mount sitting up a bit high, but that's because you'll see I've got the spirit level on there and it's just not quite level, but they are designed to sit pretty much level when the motor's level. So anyway, yeah, that's a little bit of progress. So what I'm going to do here, it's a bit of a shame I had this all nicely painted in 2-pack satin black, but anyway, I'm going to trim these off level across here, both sides, and I'll put it back in the car. That'll allow me to lower the engine down on top of it and just get my positioning and whatnot right. The extractors don't fit in the current position of the engine. It's definitely got to go down lower. So I think what I need to do is actually drop it down and hook the gearbox on the back of it and reposition it and check things and check those extractors are going to fit. I've removed the cross member, lowered the engine right down to the ground. As you can see, I've now mounted the gearbox to the engine. So now I'm going to lift it all back up and see if I can get a good location for where the engine will go. I actually had a really good look at the guy that I was looking at, the motorsport guy that was fitting the Duratec, and I'm pretty sure I've sort of got the position forward and backward position for the engine mounts pretty much sorted out. So anyway, let's lift this up and see how it looks. Well, I just tried raising the car up with the gearbox attached, but unfortunately, even with that large gearbox tunnel, the gearbox still doesn't fit. So I've marked a couple of spots there where I'm just going to have to turn the car over and just do a bit of modification so I can get it up. So I'm hoping that I can flip the car up with that thing just sitting on the ground there. Well, as you can see there, I've had to cut a hole in the side of the tunnel. I'm just going to widen that little section right there to fit around that part of the gearbox that sticks out there. Now the other problem I'm having underneath here, I can't get the gearbox to sit up high enough. I think I'm going to have to remove this rear bit of a cross member that goes across under the back of the gearbox there to let it sit up higher, and maybe I'll have to cut out a bit in the top of the gearbox tunnel to let the gearbox sit up a bit higher, because it's just on too much of an angle, and because I really need the motor to sit up a bit higher than what it is there for the engine mounts to all line up and to get the cross member and everything fitting. So it's all a ton of fun. It's like putting a puzzle together. I cut a hole in the floor there. That's where the shifter will come up through there. I'll have to make a little housing to go around that. And you can see that cross member that's going to have to be moved forward or backward. I'm just going to have a look at what I'm going to do with that. Okay, so as I was saying, the gearbox lever is going to sit further back to the original. Now I've sort of just about got the motor in the position, but I'm just got to wait till I finally get set on the exact position. I went and got the handbrake lever out of my box of bits, and I think that's going to be fine, because I think that this will end up being somewhere around here. So I'll be able to make up something nice to go on top there with the hole for the boot to fit over, and yeah, that'll be good. Actually, that boot's looks quite good. with a cleaner. Well, I'm certainly glad that I got this motor and gearbox before I went any further, because it would have been a terrible shame had I painted all the underneath of this car and then found I had to do all these modifications and things. Okay, well, let's got that out of the way. That took a bit of drilling and grinding and thumping with an axe, thumping with the chisel. So now we can see what that's going to look like with the gearbox up there. A few holes in the floor to fix, but that's nothing to worry about. I think what I may do is modify that, bring that through. Maybe I can mount that back this way a bit. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. I've pretty much sort of found where all of my challenges lie, and I saw, you know, in some comments in a previous, I think, couple of videos back, where people were saying you've got to use the lowered crossmember if you're doing the Duratec conversion, and at the time I sort of couldn't see why, but now that I've tried fitting the engine I can see why. Here is a photo of a couple of cross members. The one on the left hand side has the standard height, the one on the right hand side has the lowered rack mounts. Now this is the cross member that is meant to be used with the weld-in engine mounts. So it would appear that it's just the actual rack mounts that are actually lowered. I actually initially thought that the whole rack was lower. So anyway, hopefully this will do the job nicely. Now the thing is, when you lower that cross member, you're lowering the steering rack, and I noticed that Retro Ford sells some cranked steering arms to suit, so that you end up with your geometry still correct. have a nicely fabricated pair of weld-on engine mounts. I'm actually thinking I'm going to bolt them on rather than weld them, but I want to make sure that I've got the engine sitting, I'm happy with the engine sitting in the exact right position before I go doing that. But anyway, I'm going to put these in place now and just see how it looks. Well, that's got the engine mounts in, and not bolted or welded or anything at this stage, just sitting in position. I got a G-clamp around that one to just hold it against the chassis rail. That one seems to be sitting there okay without the need for the G-clamp. I've pretty much got all the weight off that. Seems to be clearance around the back there nicely. This side, it's a little bit close to the gearbox, just in one spot there, but I think that I can just give a little bit of a tap with the hammer there and pull that gearbox tunnel away just a little bit more right in that one spot. It's like there's just a bit of a rib coming off the bell housing there that's going to maybe just slightly interfere with the gearbox tunnel. Plenty of room between the radiator. The extractors fit, which is good. Look at them. Aren't they just a beautiful work of art? Yeah, the gearbox is definitely sitting a little bit to the driver's side. Needs to be moved over probably 10 or 15 mil, but that's easy enough done. I think I'm going to use this face here for my mounting. So now we'll just have a look at the front up under the engine. So now we might just go underneath and have a bit of a look. Well, now we can see why they used those cross members with the lowered rack mounts. You can see that's pretty much touching on the sump there. So we're going to have to look at doing something with that, unfortunately, because even at the moment, like, I haven't got that quite taken up all the way. So anyway, as I said, you know, I know where my challenges lay now, so now just to get in and rectify it. Okay, well, I'm going to bring this video to a close here. So where we're at, well, actually, before I say that, so I'm bringing you along on the journey with me as we fit this modern Duratec engine to the Ford Escort. Now, obviously, it's quite a popular modification that people do. Now, it's not one that I've actually done myself before, so it's a bit of a journey working it all out. So I've now managed to fabricate myself a pair of engine mounts, the weld to chassis engine mounts, which I'm quite happy with. And as I said, you know, earlier, I was going to have a go at modifying the cross member that sits underneath the engine myself, but it's really, you know, quite obvious to me that cross member has to have the lowered mount rack, the position for the mounting the steering rack. It's got to be, they've got to be the lowered. In the lowered position. Now, I'm sort of a bit hesitant to do it myself for the fact that I don't want to stuff up the steering geometry, and so I figure it's probably best that I buy one that's already been manufactured and works right, and then I can always use that as a sample. I might still modify that one that I've got sitting over there on the bench, because my plan is to do a two-door after I do this, but we'll see. I'm getting older every day, we'll see how long it takes. So anyway, okay, so I've just ordered the cross member. I've also ordered a few other bits while I was at it. I thought, what the heck. I've ordered the water rail that goes from around the back of the engine across over the top of the extractors. And I have also ordered the correct gearbox mounting for the rear of the gearbox. Look, I figured, you know, I might as well just buy the right one that's already been made, and it's got the rubber mounting in it and everywhere. So yeah, I'll do that. And I also ordered the cranked steering arms to go with the cross member, so that the steering geometry should all still sit correctly. So I suppose when we meet next in the next video, we'll be unboxing that stuff, and Yeah, so as I've always said, feel free to give me your comments and suggestions, and I appreciate that you've all sticking with me and having a look at what I'm doing. And if you haven't liked and haven't subscribed already, subscribe and hit that like button. That'd be much appreciated. And we'll see you in the next video.